next wanted to introduce our first keynote speaker, Brandon Bond. Brandon Bond, LLMSW, macro, MPH, CHES, CNP, is an enthusiastic advocate for mental health and holistic well-being. As the Mental Health and Wellbeing Project Lead in the College of Literature, Science, and the Arts at the University of Michigan, Brandon spearheads college-wide strategic planning and intervention implementation efforts for public mental health and systemic well-being support needs. He is also trained as an interfaith photo voice facilitator, helping participants explore the intersection of their religious and spiritual well-being via imagery. Additionally, Brandon is a professional mental health public speaker with Active Minds, where he delivers interactive talks and workshops on multicultural and men's well-being. As a former advocacy council member for Active Minds and MTV Entertainment, Brandon contributed to the creation of Ask, Acknowledge Support, Keep in Touch, a national digital youth mental health peer support education campaign. He also advocated for federal peer support policies through Mental Health America's inaugural Youth Policy Accelerator program and is currently engaging in federal poverty alleviation and global health policy advocacy as a Results Fellow. On a local level, Brandon is co-developing the infrastructure for the Packard Health Black Men's Mental Health Ambassador Program. He also protects civil and human rights in his role as a mayoral appointed human rights commissioner for the city of Ann Arbor. Let's give a round of applause for Brandon, please.
I hope you all are doing well today. I'm so happy that you all were able to join us both in person and virtually. You just saw and heard my introduction. So one thing that I wanted to highlight to get things kicked off is just to share why this topic is so important to me of exploring red pill content in the manosphere in relation to our digital well-being. So from my bio, you've heard that I am very active. I'm all over the place and everything. And usually when I'm in these different spaces, I'm often the only man or one of the only men in those spaces as well too. So that gave me the, desire to answer the questions, where are men at? Like what's happening? Where is everyone at? Where are they spending their time? And also, who are they going to for support? So hopefully through our presentation, our time together, we'll be able to answer some of those questions or at least get a little bit of an understanding of where that all goes. Because one of the things I found is that one of the spaces that a lot of men occupy isn't necessarily in a physical space, but it's more so of a digital space. So as we move forward, I will go over the session objectives here. So there's quite a bit that I want to get through today with us. So one of the first things is to define and recognize red pill content in the manosphere, including some of their core beliefs and tactics of how they become so appealing to people, understanding the psychological and social impact of red pill ideology in relation to men's mental health and well-being as well, analyzing the role of social media algorithms in reinforcing this content and impacting digital well-being, critically evaluating the appeal of red pill ideology and why men and also other people as well are drawn to this, and then finally exploring some alternative healthy models or opportunities to express masculinity to promote emotional well-being, leadership, and positive relationships as well too. We'll start with looking into some common language as well too. So that will be really important for us to just make sure that we are on the same ground as we are thinking about this. So when it comes to red pill content, something that is extremely important to look into this is that it refers to the digital content and essentially the presence of awakening men in particular to the reality of the world, one in which it is separate from the gendered aspects and promotion or aspects of equity and equality as well too. We also have the manosphere, and this is the collection of different male spaces online as well too. So there's various different types of that as well. And also we have digital well-being. And this is looking into if people have healthy relationships with digital content as well. And I do have a QR code that will be sent to that's involved with the slides as well. And it has a document of several other definitions as well too, but it also has information on how to decode emojis and acronyms as well too that are important for this work to understand it more completely as well. So, as we can go back to the mainstream access to Red Pill content, you can see that this content is involved in so many different aspects of our everyday life. So it's popularized in hit TV shows such as Adolescence. We see it in literature as well too, with the book Manhood by U.S. Senator Josh Hawley as well too, and just the promotion of ideas within our political sphere. We see it with podcasters as well too that coin and popularize various phrases and terms as well too. We also see it in gaming spaces and many other things of that nature as well. So we can see just from this that it is popping up across the board for us, and it's something that is going to be very difficult to avoid as well. So one thing that we may want to think about, and that I'm hoping will pop up on the next slide, is I wanted to share a couple examples of what this content looks like directly.
Can I ask you one more question?
Fire away, honey.
Okay. If you have only one place in your heart for one woman, or you want to have one woman in your heart, I think you said, why don't you just commit to one and choose to be faithful to her?
I'm just not wired that way. I spent my whole 20s trying to fix myself. Thought something was
You're a man
wrong
of
with me.
self-control. You work out, you do business.
Yeah.
You can possess your own power and direct it the way you want to direct it.
It's not how I am.
Do you think that might be a limited mindset?
I think it's none of your business, but I don't want you to think I'm triggered by you. I'm not.
Okay.
I saw somebody say that, and I think that's interesting. I think you're annoying, but I'm not triggered. You know what I'm saying? No, you are. You're annoying in like this goody two-shoes type way, and that's fine. I'm going to live my life on my terms, unapologetically, like truly. So you can ask me this 85 different ways. At the end of the day, I'm going to walk out of here the same man.
You don't think women should get the right to vote?
No, I don't.
Why?
No. Because men are signed up for selective service. If feminists want the right to vote, right, then it should come with the draft. Where are the feminists fighting for equality in this situation?
Feminists actually, they want the draft abolished. There should be no draft, so men and women shouldn't be drafted. That is also equality, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay. I've never heard him talk about that, but
Do you listen to a lot of feminist ideology? Do you read books? Do you listen to lectures? Do you listen to a lot of that stuff?
So I talk to feminists all the time.
Right. I haven't seen you talk to an actual scholar once. You just talk to kind of random women. Right? I mean, that's fair to say. Right. So when you say you talk to feminists, you just mean like random women off the street, not like a scholar.
That say they're feminists.
Вижу твой взгляд, степ многоярд. Мог тебя взять, но ты не моя. Так дайте пацанам пошли потери. Сумма нули, погибает на сцене. Снова один, прогуляюсь без денег.
How does a woman oppress you?
Her purity.
There's nothing else going on
It's
there.
respect.
There's not like how passionate is she or what experiences does she have. Nothing like that. It's just like how
Well,
pure is she? How untouched is she? Like
I
a
mean,
child.
That's it? That's what you
that's
care
not
about?
it, but it goes a long way for a man to be able to have those experiences with you instead of having to step in and change your mind. You know what I mean? So if you've been dealing with a man for
So you want to mind control a
no,
child?
it's not control. It's just having that shock factor. Just having that ability to say, I'm the one who gave her these prefaces.
Pride
she got it from me.
situation.
It sounds like you're trying to find someone really
To,
young
like,
with no
shape them or
experience
something,
that
to,
is
like-
because you're so insecure that someone else might have been beforehand there.
Adam, why would
That's
you
what
want
it
a
sounds
woman
like.
that had experience with other? Why,
Because you're insecure.
How would you feel,
dramatically.
Adam, if a woman came up to you and y'all got together and y'all getting ready to do and she said, "Hey, this is my favorite position." Instead of, wouldn't it be better if
All right,
you?
all right, you want me to answer that?
Tell you that, or
I'm like, all right, let's get it in then. What do you mean? Brother,
older
I
girl
don't
will
want
tell
a
you
virgin.
that.
Essentially, with that video, it was looking into all the different ways that this content is appearing to people. So at times it can look as if it is coming from a source of motivation. So people will go to look for exercise routines or looking for mentorship, looking for dating advice. And oftentimes these creators will kind of capitalize on that desire to just get some guidance and leadership. And they end up embedding aspects and content related to misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, and many other things that are said to produce and uplift the male leadership that is destined to be as well too. So I didn't want to subject you to just like full hardcore red pill content, because believe it or not, it can be a lot more just divisive than it shows here. This is more so of like the cringe moments where people are actually pushing back against them, but there are often times where they are in a space where people are essentially promoting their behavior and what they're saying as well too, so they don't actually have people challenging them as well. That's something that is important to think about as we move forward. And as we're thinking about content creators, of how many people are actually seeing this work and information, well, for one, we have quite a few people that are coming to mind. So we have Andrew Tate, and with his numbers, he has a wide following. So on YouTube alone, he has 2.5 million plus followers. On Twitter, or X now, over 10.7 million followers, and on Instagram, 6 million plus. We have other influencers as well, and podcasters that also have several hundreds, thousands, and millions of followers as well too. So that's just something that it is important to think about the reach that this is having as well. You can see again up here the different numbers in that wide range that they have as followings as well too. So with this, it's also important to recognize that this isn't always just like the norm, but people are actively pushing back against these creators and platforms as well too. So several of these people have been banned from certain platforms. Sometimes they're reinstated, but there is active resistance against this type of content as well. So moving forward to our next slide, one thing that keeps this going is just recognizing that there is a strong business case for this, for both the content creators and platforms as well too. So for content creators, when we're thinking about why are they pushing this out, some, they genuinely do believe what they are pushing forward and the ideology that they're pushing forward. Other times they just want the money aspect of it. It is something that they can get a lot of income from all of these different sources, whether it is ad revenue, Patreon, and having paid subscribers. They can make merchandise. Sometimes they're asked for speaking engagements as well too. So these are all different forms of income that are coming up to them. Some people are millionaires based off the content and the work that they push forward as well too. Also, when we're thinking about the production of this content, it's usually, you don't need very much. You kind of just need a camera and some time to put it all together. You don't really need deep thought, because a lot of this stuff isn't based too much in logic overall either. So it's very easy to just cycle this and push it out and make sure that it's being pumped out too. And from the platform side, we can see that there is a reward in controversy. So when it comes to social platforms, they're driven by people's watch times, comments, by likes, even dislikes as well too. And there's a lot of aspects in terms of hate watching as well. So with that, we can see the different aspects of, sometimes people will push back against this content by showing the content in the first place and then making thought pieces off of it as well. So that not only spreads the word, but also leads to additional people flocking to that platform to engage in that conversation as well too. So just something else to think about with that. And as we go a little bit deeper into who are the people that are actually looking at this content, then we see that it is a wide range of people overall. So average age is from 18 to 35. However, there have been reports that there are viewers as young as middle school age and people up to 45 and likely older as well too. In terms of the areas where this content is most prevalent, we have it in the United States, in Canada, the UK, and also Eastern Europe. And then gender-wise, it is primarily 90% male. However, as you saw with the video of the one lady and her views as well too, women are also contributors to Red Pill content as well. So it's also important to recognize that this is something that is not just a topic of concern for a single gender or population, but it's something that everyone needs to be more aware of or invested in as well too. And then additionally, as we're thinking about the racial demographics of this population, it is noted to be approximately 60 to 75% white. There is a growing Black population and following. So some of you may know the late content creator Kevin Samuels, and he was very popular amongst Black men and promoting ideals of traditional masculinity and femininity, and also it's noted that more of the Black men are noted for feeling more drawn to this content if it's based in some type of financial literacy or education as well too. And then for our Latino and Asian population, it's not as big, but there still is some representation there as well. And it's more so embedded into cultural conversations and also traditional aspects of masculinity or femininity too. And then as we're thinking about the different interests of these groups, it pops up and ranges from, again, looking for ideals along the lines of masculinity, self-improvement, dating strategies, and for some critiques of feminism as well too. So as we kind of dive even a bit deeper into our population, I wanted to talk about the mental health and well-being aspects of men as well too. So this data is coming from this report from 2024, and you can see just from this data alone, a lot of men are not doing well with their mental health and well-being. One of the points that I want to highlight is the last one in particular, is 35% of men would not consider seeking help from a mental health professional if a personal problem was really bothering them as well too. So that's something that's really important as we're thinking about potential interventions or ways to engage with people, or men in particular as well. And something else I wanted to note about this is that this is based off of college men, and being in college, that is a huge, huge privilege, and having access to several different resources, supports, and people as well too. So when we're thinking about these data points for people that don't have access to the resources of a college or a university or just some type of larger institution, then these numbers are likely a lot higher. And we also have to recognize that there's underreporting due to stigma or lack of recognition of these issues as well too. So with this, it's really important that we make sure that we are approaching this conversation with aspects of empathy. Men have and are in positions of power, always have been. And it's important to recognize that there is still aspects and causes of desperation and needs for support as well too when it comes to this topic. All right, so as we go into the next slide, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the psychological effects of Red Pill content as well too. So again, this content reinforces toxic masculinity. When it comes to masculinity, I want to make quick note that masculinity is not a bad thing. However, we need to make sure that there is a balance of masculinity. We don't want the sense of overuse of different things that are associated with masculinity. It's okay to be dominant, but not dominant to the point where you're taking away someone else's rights or their safety or other things of that nature as well too. It's okay to want to be a protector, but not at the expense of contributing to violence or harm towards other people as well. When it comes to mental health struggles, Red Pill content really draws on the sense of isolation that a lot of men are feeling as well too. It gives them a place to have community. It gives them someone to blame for the challenges that they're experiencing as well too. And it also just sets unrealistic expectations that are ideal for some, but in practice, it doesn't actually live up to those expectations. It also contributes to distorted worldviews, especially when it comes to relationships between various genders as well too, and sometimes the erasure of genders as well. And then also it's a place where there's just a wide echo chamber as well. So they're hearing these thoughts and ideas consistently, and also they're often kind of caught in a cycle of this material as well. So they'll feel all the different things that they are experiencing, whether that's isolation or different challenges, and then they will go and seek out some type of support overall. And once they are looking for the support, then they end up finding red pill content because they're looking for advice, because maybe they don't have that person that they can talk to in reality. So they look at the content, they start to learn it, they start to hear other people that are expressing similar experiences. Then they put that content into practice. Most of you probably cringed at some of the stuff that was said in the video. It probably didn't make you want to interact with someone that was pushing forward those conversation points as well. So that just kind of further isolates them too. So they go back to the content as well. So there's always kind of this sense of being caught in this cycle, and it's really hard to separate them from that. So as we move forward with our slides, it's important to on the next one, we'll highlight how a lot of times this content will take itself offline as well too. So with this, it is shown that this can lead to quite a bit of outcomes for people as well too. Red pill content has been associated with higher harassment in the school setting. So there's been reports of young boys practicing sexist behavior in schools of middle school age as well. We also see that there have been experiences of mass violence that are associated with this as well too. So there are quite a few examples of what this can entail, where people's lives were essentially lost. With that, it's also important to recognize when it comes to violence, it's not just violence towards other people, but it's violence towards themselves. So there will be times where it's common for you to possibly see things in terms or tags such as rope to signify someone potentially engaging in suicide by hanging themselves. You might see something along the lines of, I believe it's pronounced fuel. So kind of people egging them on or promoting them to engage in suicidal behavior or self-harm as well too, because they aren't man enough. We also see it taking it even a step further beyond that of at times you'll see people or posts that say ER or going hero as well too, and that is the promotion or kind of pushing people to not only take their own life, but also engage in mass violence or mass killings as well too. And it's also been linked to various social media addictions. If you know anything about digital well-being, you know that these platforms are intentionally made for us to have some type of addiction to it, to continuously be drawn to it as well. And with various digital algorithms, it continues to push this content to them as well too. So with this, there's also been links to several extremist groups as well. So with the Proud Boys, alt-right movement, and the neo-reactionary circles as well. So a lot of times this content isn't just something that we can just shut off, but at times it can follow us into our everyday life and have real life implications as well. So that's a whole lot of horrible news to throw at you all. So I always like to move forward in thinking about, well, what can be done or what has been done. So I wanted us to think about, where do we go from here now that we know a bit more about this content, a bit more about the manosphere and these different populations, and some of the rationale behind why people are drawn to some of this content as well. So these are just some of the projects that I've been able to work on in my experience, that focus on men's mental health and well-being, sometimes at the intersection of digital well-being as well too. So we have the YB Men Project, and this is a program. It stands for Young Black Men. This is a program our intervention that was developed by Dr. Daphne Watkins at the University of Michigan School of Social Work, and it essentially brings young black men together over a social media platform. When I engaged in this intervention, it was over Instagram, and it found ways to bring black men into a conversation. It provided opportunities to discuss modern topics as well too, so just things that are going on, but at the intersection of mental health and well-being as well. So that was something that was really helpful in building community, building spaces for people to connect in a digital space. Moving forward to kind of bring it more into the in-person avenue, I worked on, in my fellowship with Active Minds, an integrative wellness pop-up barbershop on my campus. So my campus is, fairly white overall, and we couldn't get a decent haircut. We continuously heard that you belong here and things of that nature, but I was like, I can't even get my hair cut on campus. I literally have to drive to the next town or go back home 30 minutes away or something of that nature. So we were able to build out this program, and it took more so of a non-clinical approach and focus on each dimension of well-being as well too, to provide a space for men of color in particular, to have these critical conversations and dialogues. So in the first session that I hosted or facilitated, we talked about toxic definitions of success and also thinking about childhood trauma. So I used the phrase that we often hear of hurt people, and I tried to flip it to healed people, or people in the healing process can heal people as well too. So as we think about masculinity and aspects of thinking about protection as well too, I wanted to kind of push forward a different way of thinking or expanding our view of what that looks like. And then recently I talked about red pill content with them as well. So that was one way to build some of these connections and community supports. And now this is a program that has been around for, I believe, the last 4 or 5 years, and it's been growing with that as well. But it's honestly, when you think about it, very, very simple to put together. It's getting food, music, some barbers, a space, and that's it. It's not some fancy, elaborate, expensive campaign. It's really just focusing on the basics of what people need to feel connected, to feel a sense of purpose as well too. So with that, I also continue to work on a local scale as well. And as I mentioned in my bio, I'm working on building a Black men and boys local mental health ambassador program that's focused more so on community support and thinking about coalition building along those lines as well. So it's still fairly new, so a bit difficult to talk about results at this point, but it's something that has been really helpful so far of making sure that there is some type of connection or unity amongst all these different supports, as well, as opposed to taking these individualized approaches. When we can work in more of a collective effort, we can have better results overall. And then, as mentioned in my bio as well, the Ask campaign is just something that's helpful, not just for men, but for just about anyone in general, to give people the fundamental skills, essentially the stop, drop, and roll skills of how to provide some type of support for people. We don't need to be clinicians and all of that, which is still great. I hope you go into that career if you want to. However, we can support everyone with just having some fundamental skills as well. So those are just some of the projects that I've worked on in relation to men's mental health and well-being. And moving on to the next slide, I have a couple other things that I want to hopefully see in the future in terms of potential interventions. So one is a campaign where we work to expand or redefine the role of modern men. That's one of the biggest things when it comes to red pill content, is that some men don't know their place in this world with the promotion or advancement of gender equity as well too. So it's important that we don't take away people's rights so that they feel and go back to where we were at, but we find ways to express, well, what does it mean to be a provider? What does it mean to be a protector? And express these other masculine traits in today's world, where it doesn't mean that we have to be at the detriment for other people as well too, whether it's based off of their gender, sexuality, or disability, or whatever else is a part of someone's journey. I also think it's important that we go directly to the source of working with content creators and streamers as well too, to hopefully find ways to integrate more healthy opportunities for masculinity to be involved in these conversations as well too. And then working on both digital well-being literacy and advocacy work as well. Right now, when it comes to technology and digital spaces, a lot of our lawmakers, they are not equipped to do this work, which is also really important of why we are all here as well as young individuals too, that we don't have to wait for our degrees to come in. We don't need to wait for permission, but we can be that voice. We can support writing legislation or advocating for changes to be made to make sure that we have a safer world as well. And then there's also some cultural shifts that I hope to see in the future too, and actually the present right now. So one is just mentorship from older men that are going through their own healing process. It's great to have male leadership and mentorship, but if they are also promoting and just kind of living into red pill content from their socialization, it doesn't really help us in the long run. So we have to make sure that we think about our older male population as well, and make sure that they get the support and help that they need in whatever way that it works for them. I think also being able to, and this is kind of more so for men, but kind of reducing positive role models or male role models. We can't keep counting them of like, oh, they're so nice and all of that, but why is that something that we're pushing people away from as well too? That's one of the things when you hopefully go to the QR code, handful of slides back, that you'll see as another rationale of why some people contribute to or believe in red pill content as well. And then, like, as I mentioned before, being able to expand our empathy to our conversations around men's mental health and well-being. Yeah, there's a lot going on for men. There's a lot that has to be reconciled with. However, we have to recognize that everyone has mental health and well-being. Everyone has the opportunity to struggle and have different challenges as well. So if we can find ways to promote more empathy and grace as well too, but also accountability for actions or beliefs that are pushed forward, then we can have a lot more effective outcomes for our population in general. And then I'm just going to wrap things up with the final slide of just saying thank you all so much. If you have questions, you can feel free to let me know. I don't know if we have time right now, but during our break or the networking event later today, feel free to reach out. I have a QR code here for my LinkedIn. I love connecting with people, so you can always connect with me via LinkedIn or via my email, brandon@activeminds.org. But thank you all so much. We made it, so if you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to let me know. But thank you all so much. All right, we got one question.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes? Okay. The question online was, what's kind of the definition, like a succinct definition of red pill ideology? And my kind of added piece to that is, what is the origin of kind of why do we call it that, red pill? Red pill.
Yes.
What does that come from?
Okay.
I have my guesses, but they're probably wrong.
Oh, no, it's honestly probably spot on. All right, so the definition that I use is that red pill content refers to digital content that is set to awaken men to the true reality of gender dynamics. It often portrays men as victims to modern gender equity. It promotes hypermasculinity, frames relationships as adversarial and transactional, dismissing the existence of diverse gender identities and sexual orientations. So in terms of the origins of, I guess, like, why is it termed red pill content? It comes from The Matrix, so the movie, of you can take the red pill or the blue pill, so you can either kind of be ignorantly blissful or you can be awakened to the reality of what's happening in the world. So they've kind of just reframe that in terms of thinking about what is the reality of a man's role or a woman's role or someone's role in the world as well too. And I will also say that there is not just red pill content. There's also I believe like a newer-ish term of black pill. There's tons of pills overall. So it's just, a growing space with that. But yeah, great question. And we have the QR code up here now. So that will also be hopefully a really great resource for all of you. And it has, again, different definitions, terms, concepts. And when we're thinking about looking into digital spaces of acronyms and what certain symbols or emojis mean, I have a decoder section as well there too that can kind of explain what that looks like. So that can be helpful for all of you, or if you care for someone that may be in these digital spaces as well too. So hopefully you have access to it. I tried to test it out quite a few times, but I believe that is my time. So thank you all so much. And again, feel free to reach out to me at any time, but I really appreciate your time. Thank you.